Alright, let's dive into this WNBA trade that's got everyone talking. The Kelsey Plum trade between the Sparks and the Mercury. It's a head-scratcher, but not for the reasons you might think. Here's the deal. The Mercury just sent Monique Akoa Makani, a 2027 first-round pick, and a 2028 second-rounder to the Sparks for Plum. On paper, it sounds like a blockbuster, right? But personally, I think this trade is less about the players and more about the why behind it. Let me break it down. First off, Kelsey Plum is a 5-time All-Star, a 2-time champ, and she's been putting up career-high numbers this season. 23.9 points, 6.4 assists, and shooting splits that are just ridiculous. But here's the catch. She's been injured. A lot. And the Sparks? They're sitting at 10-17, 5.5 games out of the playoffs. So, why would the Mercury give up so much for a player who might not even make a difference this season? That's the million-dollar question. What makes this really interesting is the Mercury's situation. Last year, they were in the finals, but this season? They're 11-19, 6 games out of the playoffs with only 14 games left. Adding Plum gives them a scoring boost, sure, but let's be real, they're not making a finals run this year. So, why trade away future assets for a short-term fix? In my opinion, this feels like a panic move. The Mercury are trying to salvage a lost season, but at what cost? Here's where it gets even more fascinating. Plum is an unrestricted free agent after this season. The Mercury could have just waited and signed her in free agency without giving up anything. But instead, they traded away a first-round pick in a deep 2027 draft and a second-rounder in 2028. That's a huge gamble, especially when you consider they won't have a first-round pick until 2028. It's like they're mortgaging their future for a maybe. Now, let's talk about the Sparks. Personally, I think they're the real winners here. They were never going to re-sign Plum, and their rebuild has been long overdue. By trading her, they got a solid young player in Monique Akoa Makani, who's already proven she can start and contribute, plus those draft picks. If you take a step back and think about it, this trade is the Sparks finally embracing reality. They're not contenders, and it's time to build for the future. What many people don't realize is how much the Sparks have struggled with their draft strategy. They've traded away high picks in recent years, and it's left their roster thin on young talent. This trade gives them a chance to reset. Akoa Makani is a great start, and those draft picks? They could be game changers in a deep 2027 class. It's not flashy, but it's smart. One thing that immediately stands out is how differently these two teams are approaching their futures. The Mercury are all in on the now, even if it means sacrificing later. The Sparks, on the other hand, are playing the long game. It's a classic short-term versus long-term debate, and honestly, I'm here for it. It raises a deeper question. In a league like the WNBA, where resources are limited, is it better to chase immediate success or build sustainably? A detail I find fascinating is how this trade reflects the pressure teams face. The Mercury are desperate to stay relevant after last year's finals run, while the Sparks are finally admitting they need to start over. It's a reminder that in sports, sometimes the hardest thing to do is accept where you are and make the tough decisions. The Mercury seem to be avoiding that reality, while the Sparks are leaning into it. What this really suggests is that the WNBA is evolving. Teams are becoming more strategic, but they're also under more pressure to win now. The Mercury's move feels like a throwback to an older mindset, while the Sparks are embracing a more modern approach. It's a clash of philosophies, and it's going to be fascinating to see how it plays out. So, here's my final thought. This trade isn't just about Kelsey Plum or draft picks. It's about two teams at a crossroads, making very different bets on their futures. The Mercury are rolling the dice, hoping for a miracle. The Sparks are playing it safe, building for tomorrow. Which approach will pay off? Honestly, I don't know. But what I do know is that this trade is going to be talked about for years. And that, my friends, is what makes sports so great.